What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another surprise episode of Hobby Pants. Tonight we were supposed to have our normal Wednesday matchup. It was actually going to be a fun one too. We had a list swap in mind. We were going to do Death Guard and Tau with the respective pilots operating the opposite lists. We're absolutely going to reschedule that game, but you know, this hurricane, well, it's causing a bit of an issue for multiple parts of Florida. Fortunately, we are in North Florida, up in the Jacksonville area, so we don't have a whole lot of fallout from it yet. We might see some rain and some winds, and of course, as hurricanes do, they could shift up at any time. However, I have the opportunity to be in the studio tonight. Shout out to Dan, actually watching out for all the little animals at the Mayo Clinic for this hurricane, so he was unable to make it this evening. And of course, there is the potential that the winds can pick up and shut down the bridges, and so we didn't want any of our other goblins kind of stuck on the best side of town. Well, that just meant that we had two options in front of us. We could take and just not have our stream tonight at all, which, you know, could have worked. Or, you know, hey, I'm here at the studio. All of the cameras don't care that there's a hurricane on approach. I wanted to open up and do some painting tonight, especially since this is our 1-year anniversary of being on YouTube. Last year, October 9th, we had our very first battle report go live. And well, a year later, you know, 3,300 subs later, almost 500,000 views on our YouTube account later, here we are. I did not want to miss an opportunity to spend this special time with you guys. That being said, we will have a birthday celebration likely on Sunday. Get all of the guys in here, maybe eat a little cake, maybe wear some funny hats. I don't know. We're going to have to see how that plays out. However, I'm here with you guys tonight, and I can't be happier for it. What's going on? Adam Nazarko up in chat, first in chat this evening. Great to see you. Of course, we've got Treachery here, got that hurricane party. You know it, man. You know it. You know, we're Floridians, man. We had our friend Barnyard Gaming in Australia reaching out, making sure everything was fine. And I told him, you know, Australians believe that everybody in America has just guns on guns. So I just told them we're just going to, like, you know, unload our firearms into the clouds and we should be fine. I'm pretty sure that logic holds up. What's up, Dean P? Howdy, chat, and Hozen. Well, howdy to you, sir. And then Marcy Daddy. You know, we don't limit for these paint streams. We don't limit the shout outs for the members. We're going to shout out everybody that pops in and says hello, since these do tend to be fairly small by comparison to the battle reports. Also, a lot less moving parts. It gives a lot better opportunities for us to kind of engage everybody. I remember watching your first ever stream. It was 2 weeks before my life fell apart due to a cheating ex-wife. Well, the stream has stood the test of time, sir. We hope for many more years, and hopefully, you know, we can be a bright side in whatever life deals out to you. The skull in the model is the Chthonian's Berserk skull. 3 lines match up with the plates on their skull. The skull on the model. Let's find the skull on the model. I know I've seen it. I see. Yes. Aha. Right here. Very nice. Well, I definitely want to thank all of you guys for being here with us tonight for this last-minute pivot. We're going to have ourselves a good time. We did get it started at 7:30 when we'd normally do our members only. You know, of course, this isn't members only tonight. This is for everybody. And I just wanted to get that extra half hour in. So let's, of course, jump into shout out our sponsors. Maybe drop a little music on you. Of course, first up, Transatlantis Games, bringing us 2 thin coats out of the Duncan Rhodes Paint Academy. You're going to see that paint plenty on stream. They don't have everything that I need. I am a person who likes to paint with filters, so a lot of inks and contrasts and stuff do very well, but you will see more than a few of these 2 thin coats come off the shelf. And if they produce a contrast product that is equivalent in quality to their layer paints, I'm going to be all over it. We're going to be using those Artis Opus brushes for sure. Of course, our friends at Artis Opus did equip us with a full set of their brushes, their full line of brushes, so we get to check them all out. Of course, the Series D, the most popular. Everybody knows about the Series D. Well, that's because, you know, Byron just crushes YouTube with those fantastic tutorials. So we're going to be showing those off as well. Shout out to our friends at Game Envy. I'm sure you're going to see their wet palette this evening. You're going to see us using these hobby handles this evening as well. Maybe not the way they were intended to be used, but I do what I want. So hang out and you'll see what I mean for sure. Big thanks to Game Envy for their support. And of course, one of our newest sponsors, spraygunner.com. That is, of course, how we got our hands on the unofficial Hobby Goblins airbrush here. That's, of course, the Infinity Chameleon, a mixture of two different bodies to get that purple and green together. But you know, they came out to us in the time of need, provided us with an airbrush and a bunch of accessories that'll really help add ease to our painting experiences here. So of course, we hope that there's something there you can find value on as well. As always, links for all of these guys in the video description. Some of them, specifically Game Envy and Spray Gunner, are affiliate links. Purchases through that link in the channel do help directly support the channel. So if there's items that you need, by all means, check and see if they've got them there for you. And if so, you know, that helps us out as well. Of course, we can't have these conversational sponsorships without our best sponsor of all time. It's all of you guys in the Gob Squad. You guys are absolutely incredible and what YouTube was made for. We have gotten, like Adam Nazarko has said, we've gotten to know a lot of you guys over the last year of being on stream with you. And it's something we're very fortunate for, something we're very privileged with. So we thank you guys all so much for all of the support, and that only makes it that much easier to keep doing this for a long time coming. So shout out to all of you guys at home making it happen. So why don't we take just a moment and let's dig in on what we've got in front of us, what our project is this evening, what we've gotten done to this point. Let's clear out all this unnecessary here, and boom, just a work desk. We are trying out some new mics tonight. Definitely let us know how these mics sound to you. We definitely hope they sound better than the other ones. There is still some tweaking to do, so I know that they are not perfect, but definitely would love to know what you guys are hearing on your end. All right, so let me do this barbarian stuff real quick. We're going to use some activator. We're going to use some medium super glue, and we are just going to glue this boy right down to this holder. What's nice about these holders, although this is likely not how they were intended to be used, well, they are a very nice and smooth surface that makes clearing off the super glue when I need to pull it off of the handle. It makes it nice and easy to accomplish. We can take and sand it down just a little bit to make it fit the base better if we need to, but what we avoid is the pesky, you know, white tack, you know, kind of falling apart while we're mid paint stroke. We want something that's going to hold it on there snugly throughout the course of the entire job. So what we did, started off with our normal zenithal routine, black underneath, German red, brown in the middle, white from the top. Came back in with some Leviathan purple to add some shadow work, a little bit of vibrancy into the shadows. And then, of course, a really quick and sloppy dry brush with white just to grab some of those details again. Kind of a slap chop-ish sort of thing, if that's the terminology you're familiar with. And, of course, we did the same thing on his backpack. We did keep these two pieces in sub-assembly just to make painting a portion of that back easier. You do see there are everything else being assembled. We are going to have to paint around a few things, but again, not a big deal. We do go for our version of speed paint here. How do we efficiently get one thing done in an army that needs 100 things? So we're going to make that approach tonight. I've also found a piece of the terrain kit from the Orcs that was kind of groovy. I cut it down, kind of shaped it to the side a little bit. We're gonna actually get it started tonight by adding some milliput, some textures and everything, getting this base ready to go, so that way we can paint them individually and then attach them after the fact. So why don't we go ahead and get in on that. Sound levels are pretty good. Well, let me know if I need to come up or down at all, Dean. And then, of course, let me know about the clarity. Not a whole lot I can do about the clarity, but that feedback will help give us guidance for the next time I've got one of these professionals in here. So first up, this stuff is gross. Let's put on some gloves and let's milliput a bit, shall we? Got them Series S Artist Opus brushes. That's fantastic. Is that some smooth jazz I hear playing? So that is a content creator on YouTube. Goes by Lo-Fi Geek. Basically, he just populates, or she, couldn't tell you who they are. They populate just a live radio station of lo-fi music. Now, I selected the Japanese lo-fi tonight just to give a nice little vibe to it. But yeah, something to help clear or fill that empty air when I'm busy focusing on a project. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. What's up, half and half? We'll absolutely stay safe. I live maybe 2 miles from the studio that we're at here this evening. So transit to and from is real easy for me. No bridges to cross, no interstates to take. I will, of course, carefully navigate the back roads of my neighborhood, you know, watching for the potential of fallen limbs, because I do believe that is about the worst of what we're going to get, is some fallen limbs. But I definitely appreciate the concern. We've had a lot of people, like I said, checking in on us, and that really does mean a lot, you know. But it's Jacksonville, man. We don't even believe in hurricanes, man. We don't even believe in them. And I will could maybe bump the volume up a notch or two. Let's crank it up just a little bit and tell me if it's any better for you. Yep, Dean's seen it. Now, Dean, special announcement for everybody watching here this evening. You know, Tampa was canceled. We were going to snatch Dean up after the Tampa trip on his way back to the Carolinas and get him on stream with us. But, you know, unfortunately, Tampa canceling meant, well, we just had to make it a full visit. So, Dean, I hope you are still coming in Friday or Saturday to join us on stream Saturday night for the art stream. Still managing to not be Stormcast tonight. You got it, Johnny said. Hurricane party. On headphones, very clear. Awesome, awesome. Does it, I know it's hard to a side-by-side comparison, but is it, say, better than the last stream in terms of audio quality? Full disclosure, you know, big thanks to the Gob Squad, of course, all the generosity and donations that we've seen from our favorite sponsors of all, really empowered us to be able to spend a little bit of money on fixing the issue. So we do have some pretty nice mics in here now. A big step up from, you know, the kind of base level podcaster mics that we were using for sure. Okay, I feel like I need to add a little bit more of the white side to it. Now, this milliput is very, very old. I think you can see by the discoloration from it. All right, it's not going to harm it. It's still going to activate as it should. Maybe be able, you know, if you wanted to do something that was like sculpting hair or fur, you should probably be using something like epoxy sculpt anyway, not milliput. However, you know, if you are trying your hand at milliput, obviously a fresher package is going to get you a smoother finish. Sound quality is great. Man, I can't tell you how happy I am to hear that. Over the past year, I have not lost sleep over anything more than I've lost sleep over audio issues. It's been a huge point of anxiety for all of us on the channel. So hearing that it's improving is great. What's going on, Angel Soto? I bet this all this hurricane talk got you like really wanting to move back to Jacksonville, huh? So we're just gonna like very crudely just fill in the sides of this. We're gonna be able to clean it all up here in a minute. This is really just gonna be a substrate for us to hold on to other textures to give us some interest rather than a wonky base that was cut out of plastic crudely with clippers. I definitely encourage you to do so in good time, Adam. You know, I think the most rewarding part about our 40K experience is the art chase for those that are inclined to be creative. Obviously, there's nothing that says you have to be creative to get the most out of the hobby. I know plenty of people that really just push the competitive play side of it and don't care about the hobby. And if that's rewarding for them, who am I to be contrary? But if you have the hankering to paint, you absolutely should. These are things that we can not only have, like, you know, not only make memories for ourselves, you know, but also have documented evidence of that memory, right? Hey, look at this. Look at this thing I painted, right? I refer to it as a receipt, right, for the time spent doing a thing. Okay, so we filled in those gaps. That's good. I'm gonna take my knife and we're just gonna scrape the surface around it, both to kind of flatten it out, but also to pull some of the extra milliput off of the metallics here, off of this basing. Also from the shape of the base, you know, so this is the back of the blade here, 45-degree angle, just using it as a scraper. Gonna have plenty of extra. We'll probably have to do this in 2 or 3 passes. Keep bashing a Carcharodon and I'm having trouble finding the right base model for Tiberos. Got any suggestions? Do you have access to the old Space Hulk game? Those were, you know, of course, before these new Terminators, some of the coolest looking Terminator models. Very heroic poses, you know, different weapon or loadout options. I am not a scholar on the Carcharodons, but I do picture claws, right? Some like lightning claws or something of the nature. What does chat think? Use Abby and get Puppets War for bits. It's not a bad idea either. That Abby model is a pretty cool model indeed. I haven't had the pleasure to paint one up myself, but we did get one done at the studio. Cryface did. Got to see his procedures on it and kind of see the model at all stages. Definitely has a lot of cool details to put paint into. I'm going to take some water here now, and we're going to loosen this up on the side. Just dip my finger in that paint water there. And that's going to allow me to like really smooth out this base rim and also smooth out some of the milliput that's a little bit dry and crumbly. We're going to use a different finger every time we dip because I don't want the residue from this going into my paint water. Getting nice and smooth. One more water dip. Slake and Hunger. Lightning Power Chain Fists. Like they just couldn't stop naming his weapons, huh? Lightning Power Chain Fist. I bet the donkey thrust on those things is incredible. Nice and simple. Now we do have things that we can kind of add to it. I'm gonna take a little pinch of this gravel that I have, and we're just gonna kind of jam some into the milliput. Now this has got some static grass in it. I don't really want that in there. So let's pull that and start over. Get some clean rocks. Make this hatch look like it's kind of buried, right? Like that's, you uncovered it, but it could easily be, you know, obscured once again by, you know, wind kicking dirt across it or small debris. We're gonna press it in there really well. Again, just wanting to break up that texture, add a little bit more of something to it. As we're pushing it, this milliput is kind of squirting up the top of it. So I'm going to take that knife and just come back across it again. You might have little rocks fall out, and that's fine. Kind of the divots they leave behind are a part of what we're looking for as well. All right, back into the water. Let's smooth all that around. Dab it with a wet paper towel or a dry paper towel. That might give us a little bit more texture too. Texture is the name of the game after all. And we're just gonna keep coming back and cleaning where that milliput might have overlapped the edge here. Just wanna get that nice and smooth. Secret Kit Bash. Well, I definitely look forward to seeing it, whatever it is. Okay, easy enough. Easy enough. We'll maybe add some more textures to it once that milliput dries. We'll probably want to get a dry fit on the Big Mek, find out where he's going to be on it before we do too much. You know, we want to make sure that he's got a place for those big chunky feet of his to stand. But that is good to go. Now, the one bit of fallout that I have from the storm thus far, we did have a very small branch come down, embarrassingly small, and the only thing it hit was our internet line. So I don't have internet at the home studio until Friday. So I'm going to hang out here this evening. If that means we go a little bit after 11, I'll be all right with that. Otherwise, it'll be just be sitting in sadness, trying to dig up some old DVDs or something. I have a really hard time imagining a world without, you know, internet easily accessible. And we, us old guys, you know, we're afforded the memories of a world without it. I can't imagine, with my previous experience and having this struggle, a, you know, youth of today who basically has had their entire life with internet. It must be kind of crazy to go without. What's going on, Dorian Bashaw? Yeah, milliput can take its sweet time. The cool thing about it is you only have to let it get so far and then it will finish curing on its own, even under paint, right? So you don't always have to wait for it to fully dry. Of course, it should go unsaid that it is always best practice to kind of wait until it dries, you know, but not a necessity. All right, I do see one thing I think I want to do here. We're going to take a little bit of this thin super glue. This is a brand new bottle, so we'll just cut this lid here real quick. Cut it again. There we go. Now we've got a little hole. I'm going to take one of my junk brushes. We're going to dip this boy in water. Get the tip nice and saturated, and then I'm going to put a little drop inside here, and we're going to use this wet brush to move that paint around, or that glue around, just a little bit, because I want to have some sand and some debris kind of gathered in here as well. So let's take a little sand. Wherever this is, it should have a bunch of dirt around it. There's no housekeepers out here sweeping the battlefield. So we're just going to gently roll some sand down into those cracks where it might have gathered. Maybe this hasn't been opened in a long time. The Big Mek has just discovered it, and he is fighting for the battlefield right now, knowing that once he clears out all of his enemies, he'll be able to crack open the prize and get to the good bits. At least that's what one assumes. From my years of playing Aeon, you played Aeon for years. Wow. All right, so I guess we need to now figure out the colors for our model. Why don't I grab a couple of my characters for reference? Of course, we want this to look like it's a part of my existing army. So, what are good characters to represent what we want to accomplish? We did this the other night with Zodgrod, so I'm going to actually pull him back over to the table. We're going to pull over our beast boss, of course. I think that these will be good kind of representations. Yeah. So skin, of course, varies on all of them. My orcs are green, but guys like Zodgrod, we got to do something special with. You know, dude, he's got his super runts. His super runts are pink as well, so that way that unit really stands out on the table. But we've got browns. We've got, you know, that teal. We've got some golds in it. We take a look at our beast boss here. Our beast boss has a fair amount more cloth and leather. So we've got those scales worked in. We've got purple leather on a lot of the stuff that he's wearing. And then his armor panels are dark with a little purple on them as well. So I know that we're gonna do the skin green. I think we're gonna go ahead and maybe start there, and then we can start blocking in some other colors. Now, I'd like to see this guy be a much brighter green. We're gonna go with something we used for our Gretchen, and we're gonna go with some of this Mantis Warrior Green to get his flesh kicked off. And we're gonna go ahead and grab our wet palette. It probably needs a refresh. Looks like there's still some workable space on here. Let's rehydrate the sponge. And then this paint has been sitting here. I'd like to just go ahead and clear that. We're gonna take just a paper towel to absorb some of that up, get it out of the way. That looks good enough to me. Shout out, of course, Game Envy, the Exemplar wet palette. That's what we're working off of right here. So we're just gonna take our junk brush. Let's get dialed in on this camera so you guys can see what we're working with here. What's going on, John McCardell? Great to see you, my friend. Yeah, I told you we had that stream tonight, but as you know, hurricanes do hurricane things. So I am bringing in our one year birthday or anniversary by myself, but of course with all of you guys in spirit. Huge thank you for those gifted memberships. 20 gifted memberships. That's incredible, man. That's it's 100% folks like you and all of you guys with this Gob Squad badge on you that really make this whole thing so special for us. And you know, truth be told, allow us to keep doing it and growing at the rate that we have been. So we could not do it without you guys. You guys stay tuned. We're gonna get McCardell rescheduled to get on this stream. It was a hurricane that stopped him last time, so we might have to schedule it outside of hurricane season. All right, let's just get in here. Mantis Warrior Green. We're gonna give a nice liberal coat. I want nice, vibrant skin tones on this guy. I think we're likely going to be doing dark armor on him. So to have his flesh tone underneath be nice and vibrant, will tell a nice story. Yeah, it's been a rough couple weeks down there. Thoughts with Florida tonight. Absolutely, especially those South Florida folks. You know, I might make a little bit of light of a situation, especially one that, you know, I'm not directly impacted by, but the reality of it is, you know, a lot of people lost a lot of things, you know, lost homes, lost farms, lost loved ones, you know, as that last hurricane ripped through the Carolinas. So we do want to be, you know, approach everything with a certain reverence at the same time. right? These are things that we can joke about, but only if our actions demonstrate that we're taking it very seriously. If there was any danger for me here tonight to be in the studio to share this time with you guys, I would have gone with the safe thing for sure. But best wishes 100% to all of our Central and South Florida family. Yeah, nice and quick and easy. All of this flesh, we're just gonna bring in the green on. Now we've got like those nice values underneath it, ranging from black all the way to white, with the bits of red and purple in it. So that red and purple is gonna take this green and desaturate that green where it overlaps the most. Getting this mantis green really nice and bright at the white tips, but of course, desaturating into the shadows. The problem with a lot of these models that don't have the greatest data sheets that we wind up getting painted on the stream here, the only downside to them is that, well, now we gotta play them, and they're not great data sheets. But, you know, they're still a great time. And I think this guy could find a decent home inside a Bully Boys list. Being able to give some knobs coming out of a wagon, the ability to just jump a screen, go crack into something behind it. It, I think, creates a nice layer of threat. You know, if he happens to pop off with that weapon he's got attached to him, it's just all for the better. It's been a weird season all coming from the Gulf. Yeah, man, it really has, dude. And I'll tell you, this current hurricane, you know, looks to be one for the record books. It really does. Like one of these reporters down here referred to it as approaching the maximum mathematical size that it could be. Like the maximum size that our atmosphere could sustain and generate mathematically. I was like, I definitely don't do that kind of math, right? But yikes, do you know what I mean? That's pretty big. Go check out Brian Seep's LGT orc list. He had 2 mechs in there. Okay. Hey, dude, I am not going to tell you that, like, anything is unplayable, right? I definitely understand and appreciate that there are guys out there that are faction specialists for just about everything. You tell me what the worst army in 40K is, I can likely find and point out somebody who is doing well with that army in spite of their rules. But I'll definitely check it out, for sure. Do you remember what detachment it was? Yeah, the Frog King. If there was a category 6, Milton would have gotten tier 6. Tier 6, listen to me, man. Level up. All right, just getting all this flesh blocked in here. This is going to be an interesting color to highlight. You know, we do like to add highlights to our skin tones with character models, something that we don't always do, especially on the little things like those Gretchen you saw. Ain't nobody got time to highlight 70 Gretchen, nor do they really need it. Okay, looks like we've got our skin about where we want it to be. That is good. Now let's look at some of the other kind of textural opportunities that we have here. You have a fair amount of flesh, you have metallic armor, you have leather on the apron, and then really that's just about it. So we're going to need to differentiate some of our metal bits from our other bits. Warhorde. Yeah, I mean, Warhorde, I think, still has a lot of play in it. And something like Warhorde, again, like if you can use him to jump screens and put threat into people's backfields, you know, Warhorde does really well about adding survivability or the ability to crump. It's really well rounded, right? -1 to wound on a strat, sustained on an army rule, you know, so you've got offensive and defensive capability baked into your book there, your rule set. You know, that's why I think Warhorde is likely the strongest. Of course, I was saying that since the book dropped. I was saying that since pre-nerfed Meganobs as well. What's going on, Matt? Aaron, thank you so much for popping in here. We are good, you know, staying safe. I've got a roof over my head. I've got some music rolling and some paint flowing. So I'd say life is pretty good. What's going on, Wraith Mace? Great to see you in here as well. Got Cursed Cowboy in here, hitting your hometown of Bradenton, man. I definitely wish the best for all of your friends and family back home, for certain. Okay, so the question then becomes, what color for the armor? We want to get that blocked in before we get too deep on things like our leathers. Warhorde is the Gladius of Orcs. Okay, fair. I don't speak Space Marine because, you know, Orcs is best, but yeah, I'll go with it. So part of me wants to do that teal. You can kind of see on the top of his pack there. I do really like armor panels in those colors. Now he's a Big Mek. I could do something a bit more wild color-wise. But those are questions to be asked for sure. But I think we're going to go with the blue. I think we are. And more specifically, I think we're going to go with Unkelian green. Likely Unkelian green. I might have to grab some off the shelf. Questions. Because we could go Croxagore, that is far more blue. The green is going to give a nice darkness, but it's going to give a nice vibrancy at the top point. The downside is the color wheel. If we reference the color wheel, it's not going to give us much value on the color wheel going that route. Where is my color wheel, matter of fact? Aha. Let's turn to this for reference here. So our skin tones are over in here, closer to the yellow. If we go with, we're not going to get that much distance if we go with that blue-green on it, however. So of course, high contrast, we could go with dark violets or purples. All right, we could work in some reds and oranges. I think we do that. I think we actually give this boy dark purple armor as if it were black. And that's going to get us up in here, and then we can use those yellows that you see like here on the snake on the front of Zodgrod here. See, can we dial that in for a little better focus? Those colors play well together. Having the third of the triad being that green, I think is going to play well. So let's do that. We're going to go with Shyish purple. Of course, Shyish is the analog for black that we use in my orc army. We try to avoid black when at all possible. There are some times you just need black though, and that's okay. So let's get some of this Shyish out. Hazard stripes or checkerboard. Why limit yourself? Maybe we'll do a little bit of both. Leviathan scales is the goat. Yeah, it's Leviathan scales. You mean Leviathan blue, I think is what you mean, which is a good color. It's a good color. Again, another one of those that is like very, very close to black. It could be used in place of black if you wanted to maintain some vibrancy in your work as well, some color information. The nice thing about this is I think that we can actually come across all of these leg panels and all of the machine parts and then add differentiation to them as we go. So we're just going to actually go nice and strong all throughout here, leverage the strength of a contrast paint, good quick coverage. I'm going to try and avoid some of the teeth, some of the decorative teeth. I just got one there, you know, but we can bring the highlight back in that to put the yellows back over top of it. This is a pretty cool model. I will say that, you know, honestly, when I first saw it, I wasn't a huge fan. And that, you know, that happens with a lot of 40K stuff. I don't know if you guys can relate, but there's a lot of times I'll see something with the box art paint job on it being revealed for the first time, and I just kind of feel kind of meh about it. But then once I get the model in my hands, I start to, like, you know, get the assembly process going, get to like really identify all the individual pieces of it. I tend to like them a fair amount more. And that definitely was the case with this Big Mek. What are all of you fine folks working on? What's on your hobby table? What's on your paint queue? Big Burgundy is a nice color. It's a big step up to that range, you know, kind of filling the role by and large what Vulpes Pink was doing. But Vulpes Pink was considerably more desaturated. So getting Sigvald out, you know, Sigvald, Doomfire, Magenta, and Vulpes are kind of like a triad, if you will, of varying stages of saturation and vibrancy. They also, you know, have the same components to them in varying levels, which means they actually mix pretty well too. I will tell you that something like Croxagore scale over top of your Sigvald Burgundy creates a really nice, cool purple tone when the two of those colors mix. Getting all these base coats going. We might pick a few selective panels and do them a different color. That's kind of what I'm thinking for some of these top kind of, I don't know, I guess you could call them a fender. Right here on the top of the weapon. Having everything be all this dark color, you know, would be kind of be robbing us an opportunity to add a little bit more interest to certain parts. So, and those would also be good recipients for things like hazards or checkers. And then I think we're going to try and do a little kind of subtle kind of OSL coming off of the tractor cannon here, maybe sending a little bit of light backwards. One of the things when I made the Stampa video, I found unfortunately that all of the OSL stuff I did to light up the greens on the model, the recording footage did not take. And I'll blame technical stuff. Maybe it was an issue with the computer or an issue with the program, or but between me and you, it was 100% that I'm bad at this. So I'm almost certain I just forgot to push the button. But if you can blame Adobe, blame Adobe. I feel like that's always a good rule of thumb. And maybe we'll do some of that blue on these weapons, because that blue will still look nice with the yellow and orange teeth going off of it. Now, you know, our goal is to try and get a thing done in a single session with very, you know, as little after the fact as possible. You know, so there are a lot of decisions that I'm going to make over the course of painting this model that are going to deviate us from, you know, that showcase approach, right? We're not painting for prizes tonight. We're painting to get it done and build out additional options that we don't have for the table, right? We've got proxies, but this guy, even if I don't like the data sheet, has got the opportunity to be really cool proxies for a bunch of stuff. I mean, he can be a Big Mek, obviously. He's actually girthy enough to be a Big Mek in Mega Armor, if I decided I wanted to run additional of those. I mean, he could even serve the role, I don't know, that base is a little big for a war boss, right? But you know, a lot of our Legends stuff, you know, we lost Freebooter Homie. His name evades me right now, that's how much I care. We lost Zagstruck, right? But, you know, we lost the data sheets. We didn't lose the models. Those models can still be put on the table and played and enjoyed. So don't let a data sheet or current rule sets prevent you from enjoying, you know, your models. I mean, unless you're into that sort of thing, you know. Okay. So we've got pretty good coverage where we need it for now. Let's go ahead and lock this in too. I believe this is just kind of metallics. And a purple based in here. Then we'll do the base jaw here in the same color, but we're gonna leave that little piece of metal on the bottom of it, add another color pop to it. Right, so that'll go another color, maybe a yellow, maybe the blue. We will all find out at the same time. And do you remember? What we're doing right now is we're laying the foundation for our paint job through the ugly face. Right? Most of the things we're gonna do for the next, I don't know, hour maybe, are not gonna make the thing look better. Rook, that's the guy. See a question from Dorian about Max Black from AK or Green Stuff World. I haven't tried that particular brand, but I've tried Black 2.0 and a couple of other products like it. I'm sure there are some places for it that it'll work very well, but if it's anything like that Black 2.0, the way that it works doesn't really work very well for miniatures, as it creates a textured surface, and the texture of the surface is what diffuses the light and makes it look infinitely black. But the problem with it is when it sets, all of that textured surface can very easily be rubbed off, right? And then if you varnish it, well, varnish it is going to change the surface, meaning that you're defeating the purpose of it as well. So I see it being really cool, like as the lining of a shadow box, bringing like whatever you've got inside the shadow box like forward and attentive. But on the models themselves, I think the lack of durability on it is going to make the effect really hard to utilize. So Keith working on the new Kill Team terrain. Definitely love to see that. I painted up the one of the previous ones for our good friend Kicker. Shout out to Kicker, Cal Osdy, and our condolences to Frontline Gaming for losing such a fantastic member of the community. Not just a member of the community, really like a guy that drives the bus. So definitely excited for whatever Horizons Kicker is on to, and fingers crossed that Frontline Gaming can find enough people to hire to fill his role. They got some good guys over there at Frontline Gaming. I'm sure they'll be fine. Don't get me wrong, but it definitely did come as a big surprise. Frog King working on 80 boys. Hey, I too hate myself from time to time. Dean working on his berserkers. Nice, nice, nice. Treachery, you got it. Purple is magic. Nice, nice. Gives a very nice black. Okay, that's a good combination. Have you tried mixing them 50-50? Use it on my iron hands with good success. Mixing Basilicum and Black Templar. Very interesting. This green that I'm using currently is Mantis Warrior green. It's like a desaturated neon is a weird thing to say, but there's a little bit more brown to this that brings the vibrancy back down, but it does have a lot of punch to it, for sure. What's up, Space Wolf Dan, holding it down for all the little aminals? Great to see you, man. Hopefully you stay safe, you know, I would tell you I'd play some Space Marine with you later, but I have no interwebs at the house. How do these mics sound, Dan? All right, let's go ahead and do Croxagore. I have it here. I don't need to grab it off the shelf, and it does have more vibrancy than Inkelian, being that it is up against all of this Shyish now. Having that little extra vibrancy kick will be nice. So again, just slap a little bit of this on the wet palette, or a lot of it, because I am a barbarian, as I mentioned prior. Let that mix with the Shyish for no good reason. And let's start finding the things we want to pick out for blue. I think these panels here will be nice blue. Coming in a little loud, can you say? All right, that's down a little bit there. Find other places to work the blues in. I think we give him one of these down here on his feet, make one of these blue. They don't have to color match. We might even just leave the other one purple. Might come back and shift it another color. Oh, good. He fell off. That does show you how easy it is to remove the super glue. Not really at the right time, but we can work with it. We're gonna go yellow here. And then I think we're gonna go yellow on that one as well. We're gonna go blue on this guy. Right here at his chin. We talked about this guy earlier. Okay. Good. Let's give him blue wrist straps as well. All right, liking where that's going. I'm gonna pull out some white so we can touch up a couple of these spots that we wanna get that yellow on. That yellow, as you know, is not gonna overwrite that purple very well. Quick clean on the brush. A little trooper white on the palette, or I'm sorry, white star on the palette. You know, Two Thin Coats has two whites, a white star and a trooper white. Trooper white is a little bit warmer. And we're gonna use this to add a little bit more dimension. So like we're not gonna like fully paint the whole thing, but we're gonna do some edge highlighting. Some textural stuff maybe. Get the paint thin down. We can glaze a little bit of the white in here too. Still want to have some of that purpley shadow movement across it. So let's just see, where else might we need to reinforce this white? Let's actually do it on this side too. Let's go ahead and grab this other claw. We were just talking about potentially doing it. Let's dive into it. We're gonna just go ahead and drop some white on top of here. Now this is really loose. Again, I don't want full coverage with this white. I just want enough pigment there to lift up the yellow pigment. Too easy. Okay, let that set in. We're gonna go do some touch-ups on some spots now that we see where the paint is contracted. Let's get these ears. All right, then I'm gonna loosen up some of this green as well. Just a little bit of water in here. And we're gonna reinforce some of the areas that should be shadowed. Really highlight the musculature. Shouldn't be muted. What's going on, Warlord Old Stalin? Great to see you, my friend. See, Dan said something about me being muted. Let's make sure that I'm not, because I don't have any buttons pressed. And I'd like the microphones to keep working appropriately. Very nice. Very nice. Well, then we will press on. So we're gonna do his leather rather than snakebite. We're gonna use Gore-Grunta. And I don't need much, so I'm gonna be much more careful getting in my palette because I did just waste a ton of paint. Just a couple big, healthy dabs in the pot with a brush. That's all we need. What's going on, Orcus Maximus? Yeah, everything is good around here so far. You know, I think that we'll probably get the worst of whatever we're gonna get likely tomorrow, is what I assume. But to be frank, I don't expect much up here. I think that our southern neighbors are gonna be, you know, experiencing the worst of it. The reason we're doing Gore-Grunta here is there's a bit more red in it. That's gonna help add a bit more warmth to it. By and large, the green is a little warm because of its vibrancy. And then, you know, there's purple's got a mixture of cool and warm to it, but it reads a bit more as warm with all the desaturation to it. So this should really help make the blue stuff that we paint on here really stand out a little bit better. And that's what we really want, is high contrast, where our colors are, because they're opposing one another, they're also kind of lifting one another up. A little bit of red is also going to lay better over the purple. Snakebite leather's got just a touch of green to it. And you guys probably know what happens when you mix purple and green together. It browns out and kind of defeats any kind of vibrancy to it. So if we use paints that have similar pigments inside of them, they're going to mix better. Oh man, you gotta love the ugly phase, man. Damn it, gravity. Yeah, definitely make sure you guys tune in Sunday night, where we're actually going to be celebrating the birthday all together. You know, I'm up here for this, but we can't call this a birthday celebration. I'm in the studio by myself. And there's approximately nothing that I could have accomplished by myself. This has been a group effort, you know, building out this channel and our content. Now, of course, there's a lot of us here in studio that had to come together to make that happen. But it's also all of you, you know. So, of course, today is the birthday. And for me, it's a great one. But I look forward to having everybody back in the studio with me and us all bringing this one in together. This little handle wrap here. We'll go our leather color too. And we're close to having all of our colors figured out, where we can actually start getting in here and working the colors, adding highlights, adding our weathering, pushing us out of the ugly phase. But you can't be afraid of the ugly phase, guys. Can't be afraid of it. Have confidence in what you're doing. That by the time you're done, all these decisions will come together in a beautiful symphony to create an experience that'll make you happy. One of the things I like about painting in this style as well, right, is that something along these lines here, right, everything I'm doing is, you know, something anybody can do. Doesn't take a whole lot of practice. We're not messing with techniques that require a bunch of brush control. We're not messing around with high-level color theory that requires an art degree. Okay, let's start slapping some of this yellow on here. And then we're gonna come back and pick up some purple. For our yellow, we're gonna go Iandin. Of course, that leans towards the orange side. Don't need a whole lot again, so we're just gonna grab a couple little drops with the brush. Couple more dabs. And we are getting this on here fairly thick because we do want the contrast to do its work and settle and give us some subtle gradients. You are going to find in the places where it overlaps that shyish purple does have a fair amount of blue in it. And so not only is it browning out, but it's kind of greening out a little bit. By the time we've got our weathering on here, you won't really see that so much. Or can you see that greening out there? Probably a little bit. I think what we're going to do is these are going to be metallic. I think this is going to be copper. I think this is going to be copper. Of course, the tools and the belt are going to be metallic. The hoses will pick a color that doesn't exist in the color scheme currently to add a little bit of depth and variation. Let's let that sit for a moment. I do know that we are going to need some touch-ups with that shyish purple. How did the Army Painter contrast or Vallejo stand up to the other ones? I'll be honest with you, I can't speak to the Army Painter or Vallejo speed paints. And not for any reason. I won't tell you they're bad because I don't know that they're bad. But this is just what I've used since contrast came out. And most of the paints that I buy outside of this are layer paints to add details. So they might be quite good. I've also seen the Green Stuff World dipping inks. I haven't been able to try them out yet, but that is another kind of contrast analog that does exist. All right, just finding all the little holidays with the purple. So anything that's going to be copper or metallics, we can actually go ahead and drop with this purple as well. So let's go ahead and punch that in here. How many of you guys paint a darker color under your metallics before you paint your metallics? And how many of you guys just go straight to the metallic bottle? I'll know if you're lying. Got a new one for you guys to check out. I think the movie is called It's What's Inside on Netflix. Little sci-fi, kind of not quite horror, more like a sci-fi suspense sort of vibe. Pretty creative. It broaches the question of like the body swap question, right? Don't want to tell you too much. Why don't you check it out? Yeah, much of our, we're very proud of and very fortunate to have Too Thin Coats as one of our sponsors. And I don't mind telling you, that is one of the things that is a bit preventative to me trying out a bunch of other paints, is that, Transatlantis Games provides us with the full line of Too Thin Coats. And if they're going to provide them to us, then I want to do my best to try and get as much use out of them as possible. So the more paints that I have on the desk, kind of the less likely it is that I'm going to find time to use more of the Too Thin Coats, which they're a great product. I know they're a great product. And I'm sure there's plenty of other great products out there. But you can have too many paints, 100%. If you go to see the home studio, I've got the full line of Vallejo, full line of Scale. I've got some Army Painter. I've got 2/3 of the Pro Acryl line. I've got the full Too Thin Coats line there. And, hundreds of paints that I'll probably never use, not because of quality or pigmentation, just simply because the need, right? I won't have the need. And so it's better to find out, can you within a range do what you need to do within that range and not buy all of the paints? And I'm still trying to find out for myself if that's something I can do. Okay, we're gonna let this guy dry down a little bit. There's more touch-ups to be performed on him, I am certain. And I need to get him back on this base so I stop handling the model as much. That'll help prevent extra. So let's go ahead and get this guy back down here. Glue him back on, hold him here for a minute. Let him sit gingerly off to the side. Let's get in on this backpack. So, we're gonna do these blue. A lot of stuff on here is going to go that purple color, so I figure we'll get this out of the way. We can overpaint a little bit of the stuff that's going to go on the purple. The purple is a darker color, so it'll overwrite the blue. That's nice. The blue will not return the favor because it is a little bit too light, so any issues with the purple would show through. Kind of work your sequencing to where you can have a built-in contingency for fixing your mistakes. That's basically what we're doing here. Okay, so I think the gear up top can go yellow. And then lots of purple. Let's actually paint the wrenches that go on it. We're going to paint those blue as well. To get that blue and yellow interaction up top, it'll look good. And we're going to be kind of careful here. Try not to hit that gear that we want to go yellow. We don't want to get any blue on there. Very nice. All right, and then everything but that gear and the lightning bolt on the back of this battery, we're going to get this purple in it. So carefully go around the lightning bolt. Looks like we can actually go yellow with that guy inside of there too. Oh, no, we're gonna keep it dark. Keep it dark, maybe you go copper on it once it's time for metallics. Little Votan skull on here is pretty rad. Yeah, I got to figure out what we're going to be doing tomorrow night for the paint stream. Now that we're doing Big Mek tonight. And I don't know what yet. I don't know what it's going to be. I do know that I need to paint up probably 6 mega knobs in this blue color. I've got some of those Iandin mega knobs already. That's the paint scheme on my existing mega knobs, but I need more. And you know, differentiating the colors would be nice. I also need to paint just regular old knobs, just regular plain old knobs. I need to get some of those. I don't have enough of those in the Army collection. Of course, we talked about on stream last night, I'm missing all the Ludas, all the freebooters. Like, I don't have any of those painted. I'm one that has never been a fan of orc shooting armies. I like the idea of like the MSU, melee. That's just what I identify with a little bit more. So at some point we will have to get some of those guys painted, but historically they kind of are good for a little bit in the meta, and then they're not good for a longer period of time. And that's a pretty common practice for shooty orc options. Ludas do have a kind of a unique place in a dread mob. And really, I mean, they are a decent skirmishing unit in general. So, you know, maybe I'll have to eat my words and paint up some of those guys at some point. We've got a lot of Orktober left, and 2 streams a week. That's a lot of orcs we can get painted before the end of the month. So maybe those will go on there. Maybe those will get scheduled. Kind of see here, those blue shoulders will sit down, so he's kind of got blue across the top of him all the way. We might have could have worked some blue into some other parts of the armor, but as far along as we are, I don't think it's really necessary. What's going on, Moonlit? Great to see you. Man, Johnny, that's great to see you with that membership dice back behind your name too, man. I can't lie to you. What's up, Taco Joe? Great to see you. Yeah, Moonlit. We're going to get some tropical storm force winds around here, likely. It would have to make a significant turn, but you know, that's not what it looks like it's going to do. It looks like it's going to go straight across the state. I think that there's a better chance that it could pivot and hit South Florida like Miami. That's a better chance of that than it turning north to come get us. One day, Jacksonville is going to experience the worst hurricane in the history of hurricanes. It's going to happen. And I say that just because we are so kind of fortunate up here, right? We, every year there's hurricanes that threaten. And even when they do hit, we had a Category 1 hit us not too long ago, maybe a few years back. And basically, as soon as it hit us, it immediately downgraded itself to a tropical storm. I was like, oh, I'll see myself out. We've got some cool photos online. You can see of some flooding that we had in a couple of areas. Some photographers got out and took some really beautiful photos. But I think a lot of the people here in Jacksonville, they hear, oh, the hurricane coming, and they're like, yeah, right. This music got a little sultry going on here, huh? Okay, so we've got just about all of our colors blocked in. The things we don't have blocked in are things like the tubes and stuff on him, and we're gonna do those after the fact. We're gonna get all the other colors where we want them to be first, and then we'll come back for those. I do really like how that yellow, that island of yellow right there in the middle of that purple, that's really sharp. That stands up very well. So I believe we're done with contrast. I'm gonna go change my paint waters, and then we're gonna change out this wet palette as well. And we're gonna start working into some layering that's gonna be necessary. So we'll be right back. All right. So back at it. Let's take a look at our flesh tones. We're going to need a nice bright green, something, say, septic. I think these are the two colors we're going to play around with to add some layers to our flesh. We're going to get just a drop of each on our wet palette. to loosen up the top color a little bit. I want it to be a little north of a glaze. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that our brush doesn't have any rogue water droplets. Test it on our hand here. Go a little bit looser. That looks pretty good there. And then we're just going to start blocking in some of these muscle shapes. We're not going to paint the entirety of it. We're going to paint up to where that contrast shadow line is. It's going to take some of that kind of muddy green and clean it up a little bit for us. There are a couple of spots where that purple went a little bit wild too, so this allows us to correct those errors. And we want something that's good and close to that mantis green. With our colors, obviously we want them to blend on the model, but that also gives us the opportunity to take that mantis green to convert a glaze to help blend all of this stuff that we're doing after we're done here too. That gives us our good base color. We can dilute it way down, and that'll smooth out a lot of the transitions as well. And we don't need full coverage. Matter of fact, a little bit of texture here won't hurt it one bit. Dean, have you looked at it, man? What time should I expect you on Saturday, bro? Okay. What's interesting is I see something here that's actually metal. Right here. That's not even flesh. So we're going to come back once we've got our flesh where we want it, and we'll work that metal in. Very important we don't have our paint too thick on here. That is not the type of texture that we want. One thing I do like about these two thin coats is they do paint with a nice matte finish out of the bottle. And of course, not all of them have as strong of a matte as some of the other ones do. Unlike any other paint, once you've got a couple of colors on it and you've got your layers worked out, you still want to come back through. Just get your touch-ups in there. Get your varnish on there to unify the finish so you can see what everything looks like. You have varying degrees of finish on your model. It can obscure some of the details. But I'll typically use a matte finish so I can get a good read on what's going on with the color interaction without the interference of light reflecting off of it. And so to have a paint that out of the bottle has got a nice matte finish basically from the onset, it allows me to kind of envision that a little bit cleaner without having to get the matte coat on there to actually see it. Okay, we're getting there. Lots of little mess ups with the purple. So we're just going to take our time, make sure we get them all cleaned up. A lot of stuff underneath can be covered in shadow. Super excited for your trip in here, Dean. Very, very grateful that even though Tampa got canceled, that we didn't have to cancel you coming in to see us, man. We're all super excited to see you. You know, we live too far apart. We don't get it nearly enough. Okay, so we're gonna take some of this one, some of this one, and get our first stage blend. We're gonna focus more on a lot of the stuff that's aiming up. Leave some of that first layer of green down and visible. We don't want to override all of it. There's a couple of things you could do that are pretty interesting, like adding like a pinkish to the flesh around the areas where we might be interacting with metals, like metals poking through, like the flesh kind of bruises. And of course, each stage of this, you just got to be a little bit more cautious and careful than you were before. Remember, you don't have to be careful at every step. You just have to be a little bit more careful at every additional step. And that'll get you where you want to go. And then we're just going to keep adding thin layers till we get it where we want it to be. We don't want to get on here too thick and have the surface of our paint get all messed up. And you see this process is much quicker because we have less surface area we're really trying to get to. Okay, let's get into this just highlight color all by itself. And we're just going to use this in a couple of spots. Nice volumetrics in here now. You can really see the shape of the muscles and all of that. That's really what we're going for more than anything. Yeah. Good enough for government work. All right, let's play around with some yellow or some leather colors. How about fur cloak and vambrace brown? Now for this, we're going to do some stippling and just some random lines in various directions. We want this to have kind of a scratchy vibe when it's done. Kind of still quiet outside, and I've not even thought about what to paint yet. Fair. What's going on, Aime? It would do well for an Incredible Hulk, you're right. You are correct, sir. Work vertical lines into the cloak underneath it here. Again, this is the part of the cloak that's going to have gotten like the most scratchy and abrasions. This is going to have some nice wear on it. We're going to work these edges out a little bit closer to the full saturation of the paint that I'm using, just to get a little bit more distance on that purple. Bring out some highlights on the handle wrap here as well. Nothing we have to go too deep for. All right, we're going to mix these two colors together a little bit. Come back, especially around all the little holes and stuff in here. We're going to enhance those little tears, really kind of chunky edge highlighting around them. We're going to find our parts that are the furthest forward. And then we'll likely do some glazing to get our colors blended nice and smooth after that as well. Come back, isolate some of this brown by itself. We don't need much. Check it on our thumb. We're just going to throw some scratches on here. This is one of those steps that I don't know how well it'll show up in person, but we're gonna find out in a moment, or I'm sorry, on camera. I know how it shows up in person because I'm here. Okay, cool. Find a couple of spots I might want to do a little more highlighting on, and then we can call this ready for its final glaze and shadows. Okay, let's get that Mantis Warrior out. Don't need much. Now you can break this down with just water. What I'm gonna use is a little spirit medium from Too Thin Coats. And that is going to give me a nice glaze that we can then get in here, start unifying some of this green. We're going to focus it into recess areas and shadow areas and make sure that it has an opportunity to kind of overlap the existing colors that are in that flesh. Like anything else, you spend a little more time on it. More time you spend on it, the better you can expect it to look most times. This is a speed paint, so we've got a minimum quality expectation that we're going for, and we'll work it until we get there. But as it's not a competition piece, we're not going to beat ourselves up if it's not quite where we want it to be. At some point, this model could be pulled off the shelf, and we could determine, hey, we want to do more to it. Nothing says you ever have to be done painting it. Right? It is good to have a clear out for a project, right? I'm going to do this and it'll be done, even if it's a temporarily done. But our goal is to kind of explore how we can achieve those results in as quickly and efficiently a way as possible. And of course, demonstrating that based off of characters are going to get more love. The lesser your unit is, the lesser attention it's probably going to get in the painting phase. Your Gretchen aren't going to be painted up to your Gazgul quality. Okay, we're going to let that settle in there. I've got that on there nice and thick because we're really trying to filter with it more than create gradients with it. We just want that color to unify everything else in there. What we may very well do is come back with a little of this Croxagore into the green and use that to shade up underneath some of it. So we'll see. We'll see if we go that route or not. Go ahead and take some of this right here. I'll just notice his goggles didn't get any attention to him. Let's go ahead and work that leather just a little bit. Okay, let's let him dry down. We can come back over here. It would be great to see him and yourself. What's going on, Bobby Soto? Yeah, man, we're gonna stay safe. Don't you worry. Yeah, we are definitely gonna need a clear coat on here soon to unify these guys. All right, looks like we can glaze in, back in some of that gore grunta. Fair amount here. A little bit more of that spirit medium. Just a little bit. Let's check the opacity. Come down a little bit more. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we're just going to hit the underside. Of these leathers, down into these recesses, around the handles of the weapons, up underneath the loops that are holding it in place. And this is what's going to help kind of return some of that saturation to those colors too. And I think I'm going to go ahead and add a few darker scratches with this color as well. Try to make sure our scratches are going in slightly different angles. Okay, we've got so much purple, I need to start seeing it differently, all right? I need to start telling it apart from the rest of it. So we're gonna start working in some of our metallic chipping. That'll help us get our shapes back and figure out everything we want to there. All right, I need chat to help me out. I need to find out how bad this storm is getting. If one of you guys would be so kind as to Google Jacksonville Taco Bell and see if they're still open. Got to start making dinner plans for when I get done here. See, storm's not that bad at all. Isn't that the truth, Dan? 100%. I said it at the top of the stream. I might have said it since the top of the stream, and I'm going to say it again, man. You guys are the reason that we do what we do here, right? We can have all these experiences that we're having, you know, by ourselves, painting at home, meeting up with friends at a game shop to roll some dice. That's all easily doable, right? And it takes zero mechanical effort or equipment in order to make that happen, right? The streaming isn't easy. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of patience, you know, a lot of problem solving as you get into it. And without a community like you guys behind us, I could see how some content creators would find that it might not be worth the effort they have to put forth, right? We just count ourselves so very fortunate that we do have you guys here and that we are able to share this experience with you. We live in a crazy world where, you know, when I was a kid, your neighbors and your friends were the people that you likely shared a bus ride with or attended a similar school or, you know, had direct access to. And now we live in a world where that access extends across the globe. And, you know, just really, really lucky that we've got the opportunity that we have to do this. So thank you guys all so very much. And it does seem to us like that year went pretty quick. This is the orc model that came out in the 10th edition box. If you got the specialty book, it came in that box. They do sell it now, of course, by itself. So you can get your hands on it solo. That's how I got my hands on this one. Just taking this lightest color from the flesh and just adding it to a couple of points on the flesh. Some of this I'm doing an edge highlight. Some of it I'm just adding points of highlights. Yep, I think this is going to look much better. This last little addition of this green really helps kind of smooth it out a little bit while still giving some nice significant highlights in places that really need it. All right, let's just see if we're at a point now where I can put this on. which I think we are. I think I've gotten paint on all the things that were going to be problematic. Okay. Get these hoses to line up like they're supposed to. Okay, so it looks like I can paint the rest of it assembled, which is good. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing together then. Let's go back in here as well. Let's reinforce some of this darker brown to get a little higher contrast on the leather. We'll wait for that to dry. Okay, cool. So we've got to add coppers in. We're gonna have to get our rust on the things that need rusting. A little bit more silver to apply in a couple of places as well. Making pretty good time tonight, too. I see we've still got an hour left in our regular scheduled stream time. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and get some paint onto those hoses and cables. For that, we're going to use some red. Nice vibrant red. Red's super bright right now, but it will get weathered down. And it won't be as in your face by the time we're done with it. But it is nice to add another color that doesn't really exist in the composition anywhere, to break up some of the sameness. Oh. Sometimes the hardest part about painting is just finding the angle that'll get you into the spot you need paint on, isn't it? Okay, copper. Getting our coppers going. Now I use the sponge on a lot of the other stuff because I still want to make sure that purple stays underneath it. But I can come in with this brush and just fill out certain places the sponge couldn't get to. And believe it or not, this is going to add a lot to the model. Just a couple of different spots in the middle of it that add another little color, add another layer of dimension. All right, and I think we do copper on all these little pieces right here. Yeah, if I join you for some cards tonight, Rob, I'm gonna have to do it from my phone because I ain't got no interwebs. Not a huge fan of the game from the phone either, but I still have some fun. Go. Get these metallic tools on the apron worked in here. Okay, cool. Let's take, we've got that nice, strong, and vibrant red on here. That's Hellspawn we used before. This one's just a little bit lighter, a little bit closer to that orange. And then we're gonna take, again, we wanna do something textural here. So we're gonna take the hoses that we painted red, hydrate that brush a little bit. Maybe a little bit more than that. There's not a whole lot of distance between these two reds. Maybe there's not even enough. So we might have to come back and do it again. Maybe with something that's a little bit more in the orange family. I'll just go ahead and let that mix in my brush a little bit, because what we really want to do is just get the top parts of some of these cables in the back. So it's not all red. We want some sort of variance throughout it. And there we go. Want it to be nice and subtle. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Doesn't take much. Couple little touches. I do want to take and bully some more of that silver into the silver parts of the model so the rust will stand up a little bit better. Great to see you, Dean. Really, really, really looking forward to seeing you in a couple days, my friend. Great. Have a great night, Curse Cowboy. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. Always a pleasure to see you. And let's definitely talk more about your plans to get Jack and yourself out here to see us. So the big thing we're focusing are all these pistons. Those pistons should be metal and they should get very rusted. We're also going to work on the pistons down here by his feet. Oh, I see I forgot some copper. Little exhaust. His model definitely has more going on with it than Zodgrod did. That is for sure. Let's copper up this front piece too. It's going to look similar enough to the yellow. Ideally, we get better contrast there, but I think that's okay. There's so much going on in the sculpt of the model. So much. All right, let's get some rust happening here. Oh, we need a better shake than that. This stuff is so gross. All right, let's replace our sponge with one of a like size. And let's get after it. Lots of rust around the feet. Lots of it. Fair amount of rust on most of the rods that we made sure got painted silver. Rust out the drill. Might be AP1, but you can also get tetanus. I actually don't know what the AP is on it, so don't quote me on that. But a really rusty one is way scarier than something that looks super sanitary. And I think now we are starting to vacate the ugly stage. Starting to. Got to paint that skull. And I can go a little bit heavier on like where the purple is. We're going to come back with a silver dry brush once this settles in, and we're just going to bring back some of the silver just to get the pop on it. But you see that really diffuses that silver down a whole lot, which I think does a really nice job for kind of adding a touch of realism to the thing we're working on. Kind of makes the whole thing go together as well instead of having super bright shiny spots. And then of course some of the gouges in the middle, I'll put some of this rust product in there as well. So, looks like we've got some final details like the face. We got to get that dialed in a little bit more. We've got to get that skull done a little bit better. Maybe do a little something else with the cables on the back here. Get that zoom back right. So, I'm going to set this down here. We're going to look at it for just a moment, and then we're going to figure out what we want to go with from there. What's going on? Metalled, I guess, is metaled. I don't know. I guess there's a bunch of ways we can say it. The base of it was the contrast Mantis Warrior Green. That did go over top of a zenithal, of course, starting with black, then going into a German red brown, and then of course followed up with white. We did come back and pre-shade with a Leviathan purple, and then used a white dry brush to grab our details back out again, went over it with the Mantis, then brought in these two colors for highlights, our mid-tone Talisman Green, our highlight Septic Green, and then a glaze back over top of it with a very diluted Mantis Warrior again to kind of unify all those colors. Now, you know what? I mentioned I wanted to try this, and so here's what we're gonna do. We've got Croxagore in our color scheme. All right, that's that blue that you see here. Let's see about taking this blue, some of this Spirit Medium from Too Thin Coats, and let's see about making ourselves something for those shadows. I can carefully push this into the areas that we're going to be shadowed to. Just cool off that flesh a little bit. Oh, I keep forgetting the metallic parts on his flesh right here, on the chest. The stuff that's not actually flesh. Well, good to see you here. If this is your first time, hope to see you again. We do this live stream painting every Thursday and Saturday. This was an extra bonus as our normal game stream had to be canceled due to the hurricane bearing down on us. However, you know, we still wanted to get in here and turn these cameras on tonight. So fortunate enough to be able to paint. So definitely thank you very much for tuning in. Good to see you. Nice to meet you. And yeah, I appreciate it. I'm glad you like it. Our primary goal is to get things done quickly and efficiently. So this is, you know, a character. If we can get a character done in about 3 hours or so, you know, then we tend to feel pretty good about that progress. We did Zodgrod and his super runs last week. Zodgrod was Saturday, and then we had 70 Gretchen on the table on Thursday. Okay, I definitely do like this blue in here. It is going to call for one more round of highlights on the flesh, though. So we'll let that dry down, and then we'll come back for those highlights. So, where are you tuning in from, Metal? I'm a barbarian, so I just super glued him to the handle. He's got a flat enough foot on the bottom of it that I'll be able to clear the glue off of it and then attach it to its base once it's time for the basing. We threw together a nice simple base for him here using an old orc terrain kit. I'd like to tell you too, the other thing I pride myself on is everything I do at the table here, I believe anybody can do. It's just a matter of, more than anything else, sequencing what stuff happens in what order. But we're not trying to showcase really high-level techniques around here. We're just trying to showcase, you know, efficiency. So if you like what you see here, you should be able to follow through the video and accomplish a lot of the same things with pretty minimal effort. A little attention to detail, sure, but you don't have to have a lifetime mastery with a brush or color theory or any of those things. Yes, yeah, the majority of the color on there are contrast, and then we'll use layer paints to highlight. Let's get back on that skin. Assuming that blue is now dried down enough, it looks to be the case. So we're gonna come back in here. Come back into those greens that we were using. Keep it fairly loose. Just a couple highlights here and there. We don't have to repaint the whole thing. A lot of what I'm doing here is trying to get that brightest color right adjacent to that shadow line. Doing so will make the shadow a bit more prominent, which is really what we want. Got a little rust on his back. That's how hard of a worker he is. Okay. I do see that we left the back of his leather kind of untouched. It's in shadow, so I'm gonna leverage that darkness that's there, and I'm gonna just put this reddish brown glaze over top of it. Just add a little bit of interest, but not much. It doesn't have to do too much. Again, should be in the darkness. Okay, here's what I would like to do now. I would like to do some undershading with that Leviathan purple once again. So let's go ahead and grab just a little bit of that. Let's grab ourselves a little mixing cup. Don't need much. Maybe a drop or two. Come on. Come on. Little tiny bit. There we are. I did it. I didn't dump it all out this time. What's going on, Lone Drifter? Good to see you. Starting to get some new faces I haven't seen in here. Well, I guess don't really have faces because it's just text and a name, but you know what I mean. All right, let's just check transparency here. I think we can dial that back just a little bit more. A little more thinner. Another little mix. We don't want to paint the model here, and we just want to add some color into the shadow. So let's see how this is spraying. Make sure somewhere you guys can see as well. Good, nice and faint. Then we're going to come up underneath here, under that arm, dropping just a little bit of purple in there. A little bit of purple underneath that leather as well. And this should be very, very subtle, but it's going to allow us to tint the underside of a lot of it to give just a little bit more dynamics to it. You don't want to do too much, but we do want these shadows to actually look like shadows. Try not to overlap the yellows. The yellow is one of those spots that the colors are not going to mix very well. Let me check my focus. Looks like we're a little out of focus. How about that? Let's go underneath this arm here. You can really see the purple at work right here on top of that copper. Cools that copper down very, very nicely. It also makes a lot of it look like we spent a lot more time on it than we did. Nice little hack. Same thing here on those copper coils on top of that gun. Getting that bottom corner with the purple gives a nice two-tone. Gives it a lot more depth. You get the sides of the blue that are wheeling underneath that armor right there. Push some of that purple in there. And then these cables. These cables at the base of the cable where it attaches there. Just a little bit of purple. All right, barring a few minor details, this guy is just about done. Let's come back with our silver now. Let's go ahead and dry brush some of those rusty bits. This is one of my favorite stages of the model paint too, is the shadows. I feel like it's one of those areas that you get the most value out of. And if you're new here, one of the big things that we preach is that purple is magic. There are so many places that purple can just really add to what you want to get accomplished with your color scheme. And figuring out where you can leverage it will take you a long, long way. Really kind of starts to nail that faux realism as well. Got really nice contours around that shoulder now. Let's drop a little bit of purple on this side here as well. All right, silver. Let's have it. And then the last thing that I want to do before we close out the stream tonight is I'm going to want to get a matte coat on here so you guys can kind of see the finish unified. And so the silver is going to take some of the rusty spots, add us some detail back to it. Just like that. Beautiful. Same thing on this wrench here. We just want to identify the shape of it from a distance. Remember, most of your audience is going to be viewing from arm's reach. And so a lot of what we're doing here is just making sure that at that arm's reach, that they can still see the details. And they don't have to get up to a close inspection to find out the shapes of panels and whatnot. So that's our whole mission here. Tell the story at arm's reach. Well, and my grimbright style also really wants to leverage faux realism. And I wanted to, you know, kind of make it feel like it's a real thing. All right, let's check him against his friend here. Now they look like they are part of the same model or same army, right? And then of course here's our Zodgrod from the other night. The Uftak model. I haven't actually. I think I've got one over here. That might be another good one to paint up. Here in Orktober, we are going to be doing orc paint jobs all month long, right? We might deviate on one of them to do a kit bashing stream. We'll just have to see if we can get that to line up. But yeah, we're gonna celebrate orcs as they should be celebrated. Give them a whole month of it. Very nice though. Really, really, really like how all of those blues up in there are working, that yellow contrasting off of it. All of that makes me very, very happy. And we did get this one started a half hour earlier to replace our members only pre-stream. If you guys are new to the channel here, all of our paint content is for everybody, although we do have mutterings of some of it becoming members only in the future. So if you like what we're doing and you don't want to miss any of that, definitely stay tuned. So if we transition to having one of our nights of the week being members only and you want to be here for it, you are aware. Also, you know, we do a deployment stream for those of you guys that like to watch battle reports. Of course, Sundays, Mondays, and Wednesdays, today being the exception, we do battle reports for 40K as well. And of course, we turn to our community to pick what we're going to be seeing. So that is every other Thursday. We do a content planning meeting, members only, and we'd love to see you guys there for that as well. If you would like to become a member, but maybe you don't have that in your finances at the moment, totally understand. One thing I will tell you, I highly recommend that you do check your settings and make sure that it is set up for you to receive gifted memberships. We do have some incredible people in the community, incredibly generous, and well, gifted memberships roll through quite frequently. So if you'd like to kind of see what that is like, what our membership community is like on the back end, that's the Gob Squad, we call them. Well, that's a great way to do so. Get yourself a gifted membership, give it a spin, and if you like what we're doing, maybe consider joining on up with the Gob Squad. We've had a great year. Tonight, for the people that are new here, tonight marks 1 year of Hobby Goblins being on YouTube. October 9th last year, we put out our first battle report, and boy, let me tell you, it was bad. It was bad. We were super proud of it because although it was the worst battle report we'd ever done, it was also the best battle report we'd ever done because, well, it was our first one. But we have come so far in that time frame from the shape of the studio, you know, the decorations of it, the production level of it. We have come very, very far in a year. I like to think about 3 years of progress over the past 365 days. And we could not have done it without the Gob Squad. 100% could not have done it without them. So we appreciate all of you guys. If you like what we're doing here also, you know, consider slapping the like button on the channel. Maybe even sharing it with some friends of yours that might dig this sort of content. Of course, adding comments to the video on demand is another great way to help boost our algorithm and help more people find us. So all of those are great ways to contribute to our growth without coming out of pocket at all. I do have to warn you though, the Gob Squad are our favorite. We love you all, don't get me wrong, but man, the Gob Squad really makes us feel special. You know, shout out to those guys for sure. Okay, letting that settle for just 1 minute, taking a moment to just straighten up my paint desk that I've let get out of control. And then we're gonna go ahead and varnish this puppy. Could have gotten a little bit more purple on here. It's kind of a missed opportunity. And one that's probably worth adding just a little bit of purple to that there. Nice, nice. Make sure you guys can see what we're doing here. And we're gonna hit the top edge of that with purple to get that gradient flow down to the copper on the side. And we'll do the same thing on this side here. We don't want to spray the whole thing purple. We want it to move from that purple over to that copper, nice and subtle. Very nice. Dropping a little bit more purple into the browns of that smock as well. Very nice. Very, very nice. Ton more stuff we could do, but we're only going to do so much. All right, got ourselves a little matte varnish. Let's just go ahead and blast this through, get that purple out of there. We definitely don't want to purple varnish the model, that is for sure. All right, the other thing I want to do is I want to see this boy alongside the Stampa we did last week. See how they flow together. What's going on, Obsolete, man? Great to see you, sir. You drop round one at any tournaments lately? Because we're varnishing, we're going to crank our air compressor up. We've had it at about 13. We'll bring it up a little bit closer to 20. Just going to give this guy a quick layer. We'll let that dry down and see if we need to do a second pass. This is going to take some of the luster out of our metallics, but the joke's on them. We already took some of the luster out of it by adding rust, adding pre-shading, or reinforcing the shadows, I should say. So now the big thing is just making sure things like that flesh, that we don't have a couple of different finishes on it. We want it all to blend. So I did that airbrush, the airbrush workshop several weeks back now, and I am pleased to inform you that after over a month, it is now time to take apart my airbrush and give it a good deep clean for the first time since that video. So if you have trouble with your airbrush clogging, put that video on while you paint. It is a stream, so it is fairly long. But that first hour is where we're going to spend most of our time talking about best practices and maintenance for your airbrush to keep it running smooth over long periods of time. And, well, more than a month since a deep clean, I think, demonstrates that point very, very well. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. Of course, if you're nervous about airbrushing or you intend to get into it and haven't yet done it, well, what are you waiting for? You can utilize the link in our video description for our sponsor, Spray Gunner, to shop all different brands of airbrushes and airbrush accessories. Of course, that link is an affiliate link, does have a little kickback for the channel, help keep us growing. So that's a great place to turn to if that is something in your immediate future. All right, let's let that dry real quick. I want to grab the Stampa and let's look at these next to each other. So it has been a very productive 2 weeks. Of course, tomorrow marks 2 weeks outright. But over the course of the last 2 weeks of these painting streams, we have been able to knock out what looks like the Big Mek will get finished. Well, Zodgrod, of course, not pictured, are 70 Gretchen. Thank God those are done. And then, of course, our big boy. So let's give ourselves a zoom out. Let's see the full big picture. So what do you guys think? Look like they belong together? I'd say so. Let that varnish dry up just a little bit more. And then I think what we'll do tomorrow night's stream, we'll work on the base for the Big Mek, get him completely wrapped up, and then maybe do some sort of workshop activity, maybe mess around with something experimental so we can kind of do that together. Don't know yet. Tonight's stream was supposed to be tomorrow night's stream, so that's okay. The thing about 40K and our piles of potential means it's all potential content that we can make right here with you. Thank you very much for that. I'm very happy with the outcome of it, very pleased with the outcome of it myself. But you know, one of the best parts about making artwork is sharing that artwork. So your kind words go a long way. Thank you so much. And I do believe that the Big Mek, the Gretchen, I believe all of that puts me right around 14,000 points, maybe a little over 14,000 points of painted orcs. Who wants to fight? Who wants to fight? Army versus army. No point values, just the whole shebang. We're playing for pink slips. Dial this back in. Let's watch this varnish dry together. I think you can already start to see some of those skin tone transitions are much, much smoother now. We've got eyes, we've got the mouth, we've got the skull, so we'll have a couple of touch-ups to do on here tomorrow. And a couple of additional little things to add. That purple atmospheric, love it. I love it. Well, everyone, that is tonight's episode of Hobby Pants. We've got the Big Mek at a place I'm very happy with. I'm going to have that wrapped up soon. Of course, a bunch more orc content coming as the mighty war grows. Well, I definitely hope all of you guys enjoyed it. It was great to see those new faces in chat tonight. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button, and definitely hope to see you all again soon. One more time, shout out for our wonderful sponsors. Of course, Transatlantis Games, Too Thin Coats. Absolutely love the paint. Definitely get your hands on it and give it a try if you haven't already. I think that you'll find you're very happy with it as well. Game Envy, of course, showing up with some of the greatest accessories for the tabletop. You've seen us using the exemplar wet palette this evening. You've seen these hobby handles. Of course, you don't see the lucent lights illuminating our workspace, but great line of products over there at Game Envy. Our newest sponsor, of course, Spray Gunner. We talked about them a moment ago. We've got an affiliate link for them and Game Envy, so if any of the airbrush goodies that they have on their site or the painting accessories that Game Envy might have on their site interest you in any sort of way, the acquisition of those items does throw a little kickback in our direction. Great way to support the channel while still getting something for it. And of course, our final and most important and best looking sponsor, that is the Gob Squad, our membership community. You guys have made the past year of streaming here on YouTube absolutely incredible. We thank you so very much for it. And well, we hope to keep you around for the next several years of continuing to grow and improve and extend our wide range of offerings. Of course, one of the next things up, early 2025, we're going to be doing D&D Goblin style. So definitely hope to see you guys there for that as well. We'll be back here tomorrow night painting something orky. Hope to see you there. Until next time, keep your pants on.